busy day. So go ahead and get started. But I am, my name is Mike Condon. I am the Vice President of Franchise Development here at HomeWell, along with Samantha Sieber, who is our Franchise Development Coordinator and does everything that I can't do, which is a lot. So thank you, Sam, for that. We are pleased and have the pleasure to be joined by Fabian. Fabian is one of our newer owners. And I mean newer as in the sense of he literally just opened like 3 weeks ago. I'm excited, and he is down in League City, Texas, correct? Did I get it right?
That's right. So we cover League City, and my office is in Seabrook.
Awesome. So we typically, when we do these franchisees interviews, it's usually with people that have been open for a while and established. So I'm really excited today to kind of dive in to really the beginning. A lot of the folks that are on the call today are going through the education process about HomeWell and are really trying to get an understanding of, okay, well, what does it look like when I decide to move forward, or if I decide to move forward? So I'm excited to ask you a bunch of questions about your journey on not only getting to HomeWell, but kind of going through the process of getting open, the training, what did that look like, and dive into that. But before we dive into that, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your background and really what brought you to the opportunity here at HomeWell.
So my background, Mike, thank you for having me, Samantha. So my background, I'm originally born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I've spent, I guess the background that really truly brought me to HomeWell was the 15 years I spent in medical staffing and industrial staffing. So I worked for several different franchises back in early 2000s. Going through college, I worked as started out as a recruiter in the front office answering phones. When I moved on to sales, went on and moved on to other companies that put me into regional sales. And I think in 2005, late 2004, I became a regional VP of sales for Around the Clock Healthcare, which was a great opportunity. Brought me out to Texas, brought me out to Florida. Did a lot of traveling with that company. And then late 2005, early 2006, I partnered with the IT director for that company, and we opened up RNP staffing, recruiting nurse professional staffing in Chicago, Long Island, New York, and Tampa, Florida. So that was our opening of our foot in the staffing industry. Unfortunately, in 2008, the crash came, and it crashed a lot of us. So we moved on to other things. 2013, 14, I started laying down the groundwork for a nonprofit, 501c3, that worked with at-risk youth in Chicago, in inner cities, teaching them music. So I'm a musician at heart.
Okay.
I've been playing, guitar and since I was about 9, and did that for a few years. Did some really good stuff in the city with some great kids, and met with a lot of great key people. But unfortunately, that had some different, it had a different future for me. So 2017, 18, I got into the transportation business. And I had a small fleet of about 5 trucks that I recently dissolved back in December. And that allowed me to be fully hands-on here at HomeWell. And hopefully focus on the bigger picture. As a business owner, you don't want to focus on working in the business, but you want to focus on working on the business, and that's growing it. That's, putting water to the seeds and making sure your team has everything they need to do what they need to do to watch your vision and dream kind of grow from there. But to back it up a few months before we opened, if I could.
Yeah, please.
So I relocated. My family and I, we made the move July 14th to Pasadena, Texas. And at that point, my trucking company was still working full throttle. And I was working as remote, dispatching. So August came, September, my fiance says, honey, I have a spam email from a franchise broker, Daniel Henry. And I said, out of your spam, I said, I don't know if that's a good idea. I said, it's worth a try. It's worth a try. I said, you know what? It is worth a try, because I was starting to get a little bored. I'm not going to lie. I'm one that I just can't sit still. So I have to be moving it into something constantly. So spam email turned into a conversation with Dan Henry. Dan Henry then turned, we were talking about Volo Fit, which was a kind of like an Orange Theory boutique sort of thing. That didn't pan out. So then he mentioned HomeWell. And I said, yes, let's talk about HomeWell, because that's where a lot of my great experiences lie in, is that staffing and the medical background. And I just love the reward and working with people. So September, I signed on with HomeWell and the journey begins, right? I started meeting with Laura. Sam starts reaching out to me, which she's been great. And I started meeting a lot of different key people at HomeWell, and the amount of support from a franchise and a corporate was just amazing. I felt like I didn't have to ask too many questions. I think the key thing that I can take away from the training is just observe, listen, and learn, and absorb everything you can, because they will touch on everything. Mm-hmm. Every single person, from Laura to Michelle Cohn, to Stu, now my business coach, they will all touch on all aspects of it. And when you get to my point now, where I'm 3 weeks in and I'm still kind of ironing out the kinks, which is the payroll and WellSky, and just certain things that need fine tuning, right? We get to this point, we got the base, we got the foundation. Now it's the decor, right? The interior needs to be, red curtains and windows that flip inside versus outside. So it's really just that fine detail now. But they will get you to that point.
So let's back up just a second. So you talked about the training.
Yeah.
Your background is in medical staffing.
Correct.
Okay. Question that everybody on here has asked me that's on the call today, and will be on our future calls, is staffing, right? The number one question I get is there's not enough staff. So talk to me about your experience from being in the staffing industry to now opening and owning an agency. Staffing in your eyes, where are the challenges? How do we overcome them? And what does that look like to you?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Lots to unpack.
Lots to unpack. I'm going to break it into as much as I can. I'll break it down a little bit. So my goal the first week was a little bit different than it is this week. Obviously, the first week of soft open was more of an activation week. I consider it because your website was being activated. My website was being activated. My social media was being activated. My secondary referral sources started rolling in. I didn't get my first referral source phone call till Tuesday, the 17th. And it was a bust. So it was, it went right to voicemail, but you're going to expect those things. And I guess that takes you right into hiring and the recruiting and retention portion of it. So as much as we'd like to get a client, we need those caregivers in, and we need the staff. And somehow, some way that needs to move simultaneously.
Yep.
Because if you don't, you know what happens to a vehicle that just kind of goes ahead of itself, it just detaches. And you'll lose some ground. So we've reached out this week to 15 caregivers, CNAs. We've gotten one in the door. Today we were expected 2. We had about, I'd say out of those, maybe 8 that didn't either follow up with a phone interview, or didn't show up for a physical interview. So that ratio needs to be just a little bit higher. How many people you reach out to versus the turnaround you're going to get, and that goes for the same as leads. Mm-hmm. So the first 3 weeks now, I'm at about 20 leads or so. 21. I've gotten my first client. We had 2 clients. One was a 4-hour case, one and done, so to speak. It was a special thing, but I needed that to get my feet wet. I needed to take that 4 hours and find someone to do that. So I understand to go through the process of invoicing, the payrolling, I need to do all that so I can learn those things. And if it's a simple 4-hour, great, because then that'll help me go into the flood. That'll hopefully come in soon. Definitely the leads need to come in as much as your outreach for caregivers and seeing in your staff. So
do you see that as you continue to fine tune your process, right? Because I think what, Stu and Laura and Michelle and our team will tell our owners, right, is it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, but it is a process you go through in order to satisfy both buckets of both the leads and the clients, but also the caregiver side. do you have an HR person on staff? How do you, from your staffing side, how are you addressing the caregiver side of recruiting and retention?
So yeah, I have a scheduler HR coordinator right now. She comes with a wealth of experience from agencies. She's worked at Bright Star and other franchises. And she understands the recruitment side of it, and she understands what sort of incentive programs should be in place to retain, to keep them engaged and focused and on board with us. I also have a care manager who's not only a CNA, an EMT, phlebotomist. She has an array of certifications. She has her MBA in healthcare administration. She comes with a lot of many years of experience in assessing case management. So I definitely, you build your team around what you want to see your business become. And that's important. You don't want to focus on the immediate month, 30 days. I'm looking 6 months, actually 12 months down the line. So my scheduler will become a full-on HR director at some point, with hopefully multiple locations. And she'll oversee the schedulers. But right now we're using platforms like Employ. And obviously Employ is provided by Viventium. Viventium offers Employ, and their reach is over 74 vehicles, recruitment vehicles. So we have Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor, the Spanish outlets, Univision, things like that. So we want to make it a point to reach, because we do speak Spanish here. We're bilingual, and we want to take advantage of that, because we do come across some clients that are Spanish speaking only as well. So we want to be able to target and reach those clients and give them what they need. And then we offer, incentives for these CNAs and caregivers.
So as you were going through the training process, you signed, and then it was like, holy cow, what did I do? That goes through everybody's mind, I think. How was the training process for you from a learning perspective? Was it overwhelming? Like, did it build? Like, talk about that a little bit, because I think one of the questions that I get a lot is, okay, I'm going to do this, and then what? So can you walk me through a little bit about how your experience with that specifically?
Wow. Okay. So that's back in, I believe, September, October, right around November. Between October and November is when I really started realizing, okay, this is going to be a lot. So it obviously took several months. The beginning process was establishing your LLC and your entity and getting all of the foundation laid out. So then when you start your operations training and your onboarding and all that, it was, as Michelle would say, your brain is on fire. Mm-hmm. And I remember I still use that phrase. Your brain is going to be on fire. The advice I can say is take notes. I sat there with a pen and paper day in and day out, and I wrote a daily log, a daily journal on all the topics that they went through. And I just noted the things that I knew that might or may not stick. Mm-hmm. Fortunately for me, all the great things kind of stuck, and I think that's the musician behind me, right? I can remember a lot of music is in here without having to read it in front of me, which is great. But for many, we do need to keep tabs of what we're learning. But they will cover everything that I'm doing now. I'm applying a lot of that stuff to my day-to-day operation. But it is overwhelming. So yes, it's definitely overwhelming. Yeah. The operations is thorough. The sales is very thorough. There's going to be a lot of times where you kind of fall behind the wheel a little bit, with trying to understand a lot of things, but that's just because your brain is on fire. It's exhausted, but keep through it. And I promise that they will get you geared up and prepared for what's coming.
Yeah, I think thank you for saying that, because I think that's, again, it's one thing if I say, because I know our team is going to help and execute, but do you feel like when you were ready to open your doors and you had your pre-site visit with Stu and the team, do you feel like you were ready to go? You had enough confidence in yourself and knowing what the business is going to entail to get your doors open?
Yeah, I think, obviously throughout my years of being an entrepreneur and being part of many startups, I can accredit a lot of my anticipation to open to working at regional VP of sales position, that I would go to these offices and get them on the brink of closing,
Mhm.
an underproducing office to a franchise ready producing office. And that was, I understood what needed to happen, but did they prepare me? Absolutely. They kind of prepared me. I didn't want to, omit anything that was being taught and take what I knew, because one has nothing to do with the other, and they might play and they might coincide, but at the right time, they come together. So the best thing I can say is whatever you thought you knew about healthcare staffing or whatever it is, just put that on the side, put a pin on it, as they say, and come back to it later. Because learn the HomeWell process, learn that. Because once you do a site visit with another agency, I got the opportunity to meet with Vaishali in Stafford, and she's been amazing. I'm this close on calling her my work sister. Just because she has handed, literally, I took my team there. We started a week before we opened, and I wanted to make sure my team was comfortable, and they did their online training and all that. So I started hiring them in December.
Okay.
About a month before I opened, and I was scheduled to have my soft open, I hired my staff. And then I started, putting them onto webinars and online training and all that good stuff, and prepping them for what's to come. The week before the open, we all worked a full week in the office. Well, kind of a full week, but and we were going through manuals and policies and procedures and all the manuals that needed to be here, the signs, the business lives, everything that needed to happen before we open, the orientation for caregivers. And that's still being tweaked. So every week we do an orientation, we can fix it. Every time we do a marketing, we can fix it. Every time I speak to a client, we're tweaking the approach, and we're tweaking the spiel. But it's not too far off of what I was taught onboarding, not too far off that I learned from, meeting with Stu and meeting with Laura, Christina McGarvey,
Yeah.
those folks. She's they know their stuff. When they came out for my site visit, so my site visit was done with Laura and Christina.
Mhm.
So they spent a day here. They came in, and I felt like it was like a tax audit from the IRS, but in a good way. In a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the best tax audit I can.
There you go. Thank you. Thanks for backtracking that a little bit. Don't make it sound like it's terrible, but no.
So when they came in the office, it was around 9 a.m. And we got to work right away. They had an agenda printed out, and we went through all the forms that needed to happen, from the employment application to the through our onboarding process, through our pre-screen, to our interview screening. I mean, everything, note to note. And we didn't get out of the office till about 7:30-ish. And that's give or take 15 minutes of them meeting my family and meeting Melissa and meeting the baby and the dog. We brought the dog too.
No, good.
So they had a really good time, but we had an opportunity to go through it. And I think that was an extra push for my count. It's definitely a confidence booster.
Yeah.
So then the week of the 9th, the 13th and the 15th, we meet up with Stafford, Vaishali's team over there. And we took everything that we had, from a client packet to an employee packet. And we sat with them, and they give us the time to ask questions, to take anything that we needed to implement that they've used. Obviously, she's been in for about 4 years, I think, a little more than 4 years. And she's fine-tuned her process, and it works for her. She's got it down pat.
Mhm.
So she gave us the in and welcomed us. And I think, Ronnie Taylor, is it Ronnie Taylor in Austin?
Correct.
Steve Watley. I was able to attend the Texas owners meeting, and we all sat in a conference room, hosted by Steve Watley and his team. And every one of the owners were really warm, and they were giving, whether it's time, whether it's knowledge, whether it's whatever. And I feel like I need to carry that on and make sure that continues, because if that's a culture that's embedded in HomeWell and in each franchisee, I think it's only right to continue that and to pass it along.
You stole the words out of my mouth. I think one thing that we're really proud of, and I will speak for Samantha and I, and thank you for sharing that from an owner's perspective, is the culture here at HomeWell. I think we all want everybody to be successful. And of course, we're going to say that on the franchise side, because that's our role, is to help you be successful. But I think it speaks volumes when you have owners like Vishali, like Ronnie, like Steve. They want you to be successful too. It's not, hey, you're stealing clients from me, or you're stealing territory like you see in a lot of franchise systems. It's, how can we help you grow the best business that you can? And I think, your experience is demonstrating that, and your attitude towards wanting to give it back as new owners come in is really what we've built and are trying to continue to build with the people that want to see this as an opportunity. So thank you for sharing that, because that is very important to us on the corporate level. And I know how important it is to you on the franchisee level as well, to kind of carry that throughout. So on an end note, what are your goals? What is your 5-year goal with this business?
So,
or 12-month goal. That's okay too, because I know 5 years is a long time away.
Yeah. Well, I can sum it up for you fairly quickly, because that plan is in place. It's part of the business plan, and it's part of my mental plan. And I play it day in and day out, and I remind myself of why I come in every morning, and why I push my team, and why I push myself even more. My 12-month goal is to expand into Pearland. So hopefully there isn't any potential franchisees on that have their eyes set on Pearland. I have that. I actually just expanded a little bit into that, because we're getting obviously referrals from Pearland. So Pearland is in my next 8 to 12-month goal. My next 2 to 3 year goal will be Galveston. So that's south of me. And hopefully that covers all of South Houston. And there's no more where to go.
Gotcha.
Other than my boat and some fishing after that.
Yes.
I don't know what else after Galveston right now, but definitely to step a little bit back and to allow some time for some family time and all that good stuff. But until then, it's full throttle and full speed ahead. And Pearland and Galveston, you're in my sight. So hopefully that's noted. So we can have a recap at some point. We'll see what HomeWell evolves into, because they're constantly evolving. You guys are always growing the brand, always building more, and always adding more, which is great. I feel like, I'm in the right place, because that's kind of where we need to be as owners, always growing, always evolving. You can't stay stagnant. Once you stay in one place, you're not growing. So continue that growth and push.
I can tell you, as we all met in Baltimore this past week as a group, that is our goal, and to really continue to support you guys who do the real work, which is deliver great care to our communities around the country. And Fabian, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. If anybody that's on the call has any questions or follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to your franchise development director or myself. We'll be happy to answer those. And with that, Fabian, thank you again for your time today, and best of luck. And I look forward to seeing you here in a couple months in San Diego at conference.
Oh, I'll be there.
Will too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Truly an honor and a pleasure. So thank you so much, and good luck to everyone out there. And hopefully to see you in this seat or in your seat soon enough.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Take care.
Thank you.